The bottom 50% of Americans paid $64 billion in taxes. So we be like, yo, we pay the most in taxes. We pay the most in taxes. Well, what we got to start learning how to do is play the network game. So let me show you some of the things that you got to start doing. You want to know who pay the most taxes? That's one of them questions that a lot of people get in their head. Rich people don't pay taxes, poor people pay more taxes, and all this stuff in the middle. Well, today we're gonna break it down because America was called a progressive tax system, and a lot of people don't know what that is. So we're gonna talk about that today. So make sure you get your pen, make sure you get your pad, because you probably paid taxes on that, so you better use it, you feel me? So today we're gonna talk about what is a progressive tax system. We're gonna talk about how you affected with it, how your paycheck is affected, how wealthy people are affected, how middle class people are affected, how poor people are affected, and where you wanna be at in the game. Let's go, man. A progressive tax system is simply a system that says the more money you make, the more you get taxed. That's right. As you move up in income brackets and net worth brackets, so does your tax bracket, which is why it is important that you learn how to create systems, not operational systems in a business, but operational systems for your wealth and for your money. You need to learn about tax shelters. You need to learn about holding companies. You need to learn about that. If you're really serious about changing the game, now I'm gonna be real with you. Once you say in trap, I want to go to that $500,000 mark or more, it's time for you to start moving some things around. I'm just gonna keep it real with you because now I'm gonna sound like, hey, let me get that out to you. You come in a higher tax bracket. And so a lot of times we hear stuff like, man, these wealthy people ain't paying no taxes. Actually, they paid the bulk of the taxes, but they also have a lot of loopholes and they have a lot of tax shelters. And because you go to work so much, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, America tax you more because they feel like someone else is giving you a job. And because they are giving you a job, they get to tax you more. Now, overall, hear me when I say this, you're getting taxed at a 34% range off your paycheck. That's true. But what happens is the wealthy people or the wealthier people actually have a higher tax bracket. They get taxed more, but they find different ways to use different things, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today. So watch this. The top 1% in 2022 paid $855 billion in taxes. That was the majority of the taxes right there. Watch here. This the big dog. This the upper echelon. Watch this. The 1 to 5%. The 5% made up 61%. 61% of America. They paid $449 billion. Now, in order to be here and here, you super successful. You probably in that 100 million or more club for sure, right? You gotta find things to write stuff off. So you can't just have, like, real estate is not just enough. You start buying commercial real estate. You start buying jets. You start having charities. You start doing all kind of things, right? You start doing arbitrage. You start doing all kind of things to offset this. You start leaning into not charity, but you start taking on businesses that take losses. So, prime example, you just saw the Boston Celtics. Watch this. You just saw a company buy the Boston Celtics, a private equity group. You just saw them buy the Boston Celtics for way more than what the previous company bought it for. And then we found out that in the process of that the way that deal is set up, the Bruins actually own the stadium, right? So they own everything in that. So the only thing that the people who own the Boston Celtics get paid from is like the ticket sales, right? It's crazy how that is. So I said, damn, why did they spend that much for? So I did a little research, and guess what? Everybody in that private equity group, they want to take the loss on that. They don't care about the season tickets. They want it to be in a loss. So they are probably somewhere in these three categories. They can take the loss, and that loss can offset the other money that they have. And because it's going to be a huge loss, That's going to help them in their taxes. So they formed a private equity group with a bunch of 100 millionaires or more, 50 million, 100 million, billionaires or more. They put the private equity group together because they bought it for like $7 billion or something like that, right? And they now going to own that, and now they get to offset the losses that they're going to make from owning the Boston Celtics. They're going to offset the losses from the arena to what? Offset they millions and billions. They get to take that as a percentage. That's what, in this bracket, that's what you need. That's what you need. So that 5 to 10% made up $235 billion, right? They paid $235 billion. Now, mind you, this is a $2.14 trillion tax bill we talking about right here. $2.14 trillion. The top 1%ers they paid $855 billion. That, 1.1 to 5%, they paid $449 billion. Then this group right here, 5 to 10%, they paid $235 billion. But look at this. The 10 to 25% they paid $321 billion. 10 to 25% they paid more than the 5 to 10%. You feel me? So that tells me that this is a large group right here. This is a large group right here. This is a larger group of people, right? So, and that's why I use this. Now watch this. The 25 to 50%ers paid $214 billion. Now watch this. All of this makes up 50%. The bottom 50% combined paid $64 billion in taxes. The bottom 50% of Americans paid $64 billion in taxes. So we be like, yo, we pay the most in taxes. We pay the most in taxes. Well, what we got to start learning how to do is play the network game. So let me show you some of the things that you got to start doing, right? Because you see where the tax is going. So some of the things you got to start doing is, one of the ways is, you already know it, buying. Buying real estate helps you. Now, I'm gonna be real with you. Y'all know I love the stock market, but the reason why I bought the 40 acres of land and the reason why I bought this big building was because I shifted tax brackets and I needed these to, right? So when I bought this building, you do what's called a cost segregation study, right? So when you get real estate, you can do what's called this. That cost seg allows you to do what? It allows you to do what's called accelerated tax depreciation, right? So I'm gonna get to appreciate all the taxes for the building in a front and not all the way in the back. Another thing in real estate you get to do is the 1031 exchange, right? And that allows you to just exchange this to this next property and not pay no taxes in a certain time frame. And you get to keep on shifting that. So you sell this house, you got like 45 days or 60 days to get another house with those profits. And you have to keep doing that in real estate. So you keep getting to do what? Defer the taxes. Another thing you do is you get a trust. Now, I ain't the best at this part because I'm still learning and I'm not going to lie. And then the trust, you get a holding company. And then the holding company is what buys the real estate. You feel what I'm saying? There's a few ways when you so watch this. What happens is let's say you in this part. The goal is to move from here to here somewhere. You want to get here. You don't want to be here, man. You got to get out of this space right here. This is a dead zone. This is a dead zone. And all you need in this zone is education and information. Education, information, discipline is what gets you from the bottom 50%. Right? You learn how to save money. You learn you get more better with your bread, right? You get here, you go here. You start saving to make them investments and you educating yourself. So you get here and here, you done shifted the game. You done shifted, right? Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be real with you. You don't even got to get here. You don't got to get here. There's a lot of problems, but I'm going to tell you something. These right here are sweet spots. These here are sweet spots, right? Like you can make 50 billion. You can get in these areas right here, right? And change the game. And how you change the game is you start investing. You start learning about deferred investments. You start learning why you got to spend money. You start learning why you got to buy certain things, why you got to learn to like, I'm going to be real with you. Once you get to a certain level, like, writing a lunch off ain't no big deal. like buying a car that weighs 6,000 pounds, you need massive write-offs. So you start getting a lot of real estate. Now go play Monopoly with a different type of perspective and a different type of mindset. Now you start donating to charity. You start starting your own charitable fund in which you using the charity. Ooh, I don't want to get into that because I don't. Yeah, but this is why, again, this is why you see a lot of football people, sports people, entertainment people start charities, because it's a way for them to offset taxes. And trust me, when people are like, oh, it's a tax write-off. It don't be what you think it is when people be saying, oh, it's just a tax write-off. You need substantial things over and over again, man. So listen, man, I hope this made sense to y'all, man. Check this video out, man. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. Man, share this to somebody, man, if it helps you. Just giving you a little insight on the tax game. We are in what's called a progressive tax system. I want to teach y'all. My goal is not just to teach you the markets, but to teach you about how to play this wealth game. Some of the things you need to be doing to elevate yourself and take yourself to another level, man. It's your boy, the Wall Street Chopper, man. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and tell us in the chat how this video helps you, man. Salute.